So, Helldivers 2 is on the rise again, with 2 new war bonds and a new LTM mode that just came out. And it's given me more of a reason to come back to this game. I've been having it in my drives for the better part of a year now. It's actually like pretty fun. It's not bad. You should just play it in short bursts, honestly, though. But I'll get back to it in a second. But still, I'm glad to see Helldivers 2 on the rise again, especially with how much controversy has come out in recent weeks, and just not recent weeks, but throughout the course of its lifetime. And along with that, you know, there's also Xbox players now playing the game, so we got even more people that are running around killing bots, bugs, and squids. It's kind of a beautiful thing to see. First, let's just focus on the game itself. The game still handles pretty well. The gunplay, of course, has changed very minimally, apart from a few tweaks here and there. But otherwise, it's still pretty solid. Playing by yourself is just fine, though it does get naturally challenging as you go higher above the levels. Not to say it's not doable, it's just you need to really focus and kind of be stealthy whenever you're doing missions and collecting samples. But still, the solo experience is fine. I find myself kind of lamenting the fact that I don't have certain stratagems, but it's pretty natural. It can only carry 4 at a time. But it's pretty awesome with the assortment of weapons that you got on hand, especially now that if you've gotten far enough into the free warbond that they give you, then you can go for medium pending weapons now, and it makes things a little bit easier. But when you're dealing with shit like the factory strider and the charger, it can get a little challenging because, well, the strider I've didn't necessarily figure out how to kill it without anything that isn't immediately in your arsenal, and the charger has a weak spot on its back, but it can be a little inconsistent to hit sometimes. But still, it's pretty fun to use any and all of the weapons that are on hand. Though you do have to build your kit around certain missions sometimes, as much as you have to build your kit around certain enemy factions. If it's just a holdout mission where it's like 15 minutes and you have to just kill as much as you can, then it's pretty natural to take impact grenades. You might want to take something else, like a traditional grenade, if you're just clearing out hives, destroying factories and such. It's just finding what fits. There's no one size fits all in this kind of stuff. Though some stratagems are pretty useful together, like I find myself using the air burst a decent amount, and also the machine gun that you start off with, which honestly Arrowhead made a pretty good call with that one. But still, it's just trying to min-max, see what works, see what doesn't, and going from there, which is pretty cool. And along with that, given that the game is PvE, there is a lot of encouragement when it comes to community feedback, community support, and community supporting community. You know, we have a lot of reports that are going around about people that are very high level helping out the fresh people that are either out of Xbox or checking out the game out of curiosity. It's really awesome to see. And it really does feel like the world is alive, because it's like as if we fucking got a new city being enlisted and we have a bunch of these people coming in. It's like in your brain you can really play around with this kind of stuff, which is always a joy, because you can always have your own headcanon for this. And along that, it's just more fun to think about. It's like, hey, we have fucking the blue city over here, and then the gray city, and then fucking Team Green over here stepping in to help us. And of course, speaking of Team Green, I can't talk about Xbox without talking about the Halo Warbond that got released fairly recently. I'm pretty sure it was last week as of making this. It's pretty endearing to see. The console wars are finally officially over, or at least they're on their way to make a fucking peace treaty. Because Halo DLC is here on Helldivers, a PlayStation-made game. Gears of War Reloaded is here on PlayStation, and on top of that, we've also had other games in the past like Hi-Fi Rush, and we also have some games that are coming out to Xbox as well, at least from what I hear. And it's just so nice to see, because as you grow, you're sitting here like, well, every console has its reasons. I will say Xbox was in a bit of a decline because they raised their prices, their consoles, well before PlayStation started to. And not only that, but even Phil Spencer admitted that the console wars were over because PlayStation pretty much topped them up. It is also unfortunate because that led to Sony being the pricks that they are and monopolizing the whole thing, so they could raise their prices and nobody could bat an eye. At least until that class action lawsuit that happened in the UK, which was pretty fun. But otherwise, I think that we're in a pretty good position. Naturally, I myself don't have an Xbox, which might suck for some people, but I got Xbox Game Pass over here anyway. I can just buy games straight off the Microsoft Store. It's absolute dog shit with the client that's over here on PC because it takes a fucking decade to download any game that's above 20 gigs. But otherwise, I think it's just okay. It's not bad. But along with that, that brings us to a few things that need to be worked out. This game had one significant bug that almost ruined the experience and made me prolong game time by 2 minutes with no fault of my own. The Pelican still needs to be fixed. It hasn't been an issue from what I saw towards like a certain 6 or 7 month period. I remember this happened like in the first few months of Helldivers, but even still, the Pelican is still struggling to land and is still clipping through the floors. It can lead to some pretty hilarious moments where it's just two people staring at each other before staring back at the Pelican. But even still, when you have an entire wave of bugs coming towards you and you're on your last fucking reinforcements, it cannot be pretty fun, and if you die by no fault of your own, it sucks. Speaking of that, I still think that there needs to be a bit of guidance in place because whenever you're spawning in, there's a good chance that you might spawn on top of the caverns for the layers, and if you try to fall down, because there's no easy way to get down towards the map otherwise, you just straight up die because of fall damage. And I will say there is one good thing that comes out of this at least. There was an instance where I was deploying a supply station and I accidentally put it under the cavern walls and ceiling, but thankfully it went through the cracks. Maybe my point is moot, but even still, I hope it's not overly terrible, even though the game does tell you, hey, make sure your stratagem is falling in such position. And of course, I can't talk about this game without seeing how high it is up on the Steam charts and how well the numbers are doing in general. Helldivers and Battlefield are genuinely wiping the floor with Call of Duty here at the moment. I know I was talking shit about Call of Duty before, but I can't stress enough how satisfying it is to see Call of Duty being dethroned very slowly. Just kidding. They're getting their shit stomped. It's been a nice month and a half. A really nice month and a half. Because there's hype that immediately shot up for BF6. The sales are not quite there just like they used to be a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. But still, there's high anticipation for this game doing well. Black Ops 7 is very much shitting the bed currently with nonsensical contextualization for their characters coming back. Not just that, but the story doesn't make too much sense. They're absolutely pissing on the grave of the actor for Raul Menendez, which also did great in Daredevil Born Again, by the way. And it's just terrible. It's like, I've seen some snippets of the gameplay reveal and the whole discussion surrounding how all this stuff is going to play out. And yes, some of the stuff is interesting, but it's not for Call of Duty. Like, genuinely, all that psychedelic mind shit, I think it would have been better if it was some sort of black market game or some sort of game where you're inside the black market and you have to go into this psychedelic world or something. It's just not something that fits, especially when you're taking a Milsim approach, especially with how much they've considered wacky ass skins in the game. Like, why do we need American Dad in there? Why do we need Beavis and Butthead in there? It's so stupid. It's once again showing that other games can still thrive because Helldivers has reached nearly 1 million copies sold within a week, which is impressive. And by that I mean 1 million copies a week in 1 week for Xbox. And it's great to see the community immediately explode like that. Genuinely, it's awesome. Now, do I think that the numbers will stay? Naturally, no. Of course, there will be some falling off after a while, and when the LTM goes out, it's going to be back to the status quo until the major update that follows. But even still, I think there's some good standing. My only concern, again, is with how limited some people are when it comes to unlocking stuff for free. Like, sure, it's enough to immediately go through the game, get to the free war bond that you've got, grab medium pending weapons, grab all the boosters that they have in place, and also using a renown to buy as much as you can out of the Super Destroyer. But when players consider the amount of content that can be bought through war bonds, and not just that, but you have to play the game, which is absolutely fine, but I'll get into that spot in a second, it can be a little frustrating. And not just that, but it comes into another trap that Helldivers finds itself in, where the war bonds and the amount of money that you have to pay for the war bonds exceeds the price of the game itself. The only other time, well, not the only other time, Call of Duty's been doing this a lot, but the only other franchise out of this two, apart from these two that I have seen, that vastly exceeds the DLC prices compared to its full game price is Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight has over $200 worth of DLC for packs that have killers and survivors, and that's not even considering any of the cosmetics that are in that game. And of course, there is some argument for both sides, where it's like, oh, you're supporting such a bad system, or oh, you'll only have to buy what you want. It's like, yeah, I totally agree, but still, this is a very questionable direction for any franchise and any game that is pushing forward in this day and age. Of course, I've seen that all three of these games have their numbers stuck with, and Battlefield is kind of lagging behind because of a free pass incentive. But even still, it kind of sucks with the monetization that they have in place, especially with the fact that the war bonds are typically $10. The Halo war bond is 15, but that I found okay because I got enough super credits that I really just had to shell out 10. Yes, I'm a sellout. But even still, it kind of sucks for the average player that's just hopping in casually and just needing a few missions out and getting their immediate dopamine fix. I hope that there can be other ways for players to get these war bonds, especially for free, and not just that, just making sure that everybody can be on a certain playing field, because shit like the portable hell bomb and the warp pack, it can be pretty game changing in the grand scheme of things. Well, it depends on how you use them, of course, but even still, some players might feel like they're at a disadvantage if they don't shell out money for this game, which kind of sucks, because there should be ways for players to especially get original content, and there should be a way for players to just have fun, even though for a lot of people, or for a decent amount, this may still be the case regardless. But just more so a longevity concern within certain people and the player base. Of course, a decent amount of players might also have most, if not all, of the war bonds, but still, I hope there can be a compromise. And Arrowhead did comment on this, saying that they want to look into ways for other players to obtain this stuff for free. So who knows? Am I being a cheapskate? Sure. I mean, I have a decently paying job, and I can definitely shell out $10 a week to play this game and get all the war bonds and shit. Do I have the time to do it? No. Of course, work naturally, but I have other social concerns. Is that much of a problem? No. It is still a game that I will come back to every once in a while, and that will lead to something that I've been talking about, or at least hinted at the start. Playing this game in short bursts, I think, is perfect. If you play it for longer, you are definitely going to get stressed out, you're going to get burnt, and it's just might lose its factor for a little bit. Now, by short bursts, I mean doing one operation per day, or at least one or two at most, because depending on the operation, you can have an operation that is okay, you know, you got 80 minutes at most to do all of it, or maybe 55 in certain instances with the holdout missions, or they can take up to 2 hours to do, which can be a little crazy for some people, especially if they're just trying to grind out their challenges and their personal records. They have a good incentive to do all the missions as well, and of course, with war bonds being a thing that people are going to go for, it can make sense to play this game for much longer. But I find short bursts and doing a single operation or two a day is pretty much perfect, because I can still get enough done within the game, I can still get gratification, but I don't immediately burn myself out after the fact. So I think that's personally fine, and honestly, if you're playing the game, I encourage everybody to live or play under this mindset. Can you play for longer? Yeah, but should you fucking take a shit, eat, and do chores? Also, yeah. So it can really go either way, I suppose. But yeah, that's kind of about it. I've been enjoying this game a lot recently since the Halo War Run came out. It's gotten a lot crazier now that the LTM is out as well. And along with that, I've been finding ways of enjoying the game beyond what I was just doing normally. Like, I'm finding a certain amount of low-level people that are playing the game, going through the LTM, and just giving them a hand, which is really fun to do. Like, this game really incentivizes co-op, and the co-op in this game is very solid. Not just that, but it definitely encourages communication, because the amount of times that I have either died or killed somebody in friendly fire can be a bit questionable. It's only a handful, but it can be questionable nonetheless. And along with that, I think that Helldivers 2 is in a good position. Is it in a perfect position? No. Again, the whole Pelican bug can be a bit of a gripe, but otherwise, I think they've got something in their hands for the foreseeable future. And I'm actually really excited to see the direction that they're going to take moving forward. So that's about it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.